Anse, I'm Krisanachkate. Welcome to APTN National News. Thank you for joining us. The Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs and two families from the Long Plain First Nation in Treaty 1 territory held a press conference on Thursday to talk about the search at the Prairie Green Landfill. Late Wednesday afternoon, the province announced the possibility of human remains being found, and an active investigation is now taking place. With more, here's APTN's TR Wheatley and a warning. Some of the details here may be difficult to hear.
It's damaged us internally.
In 4 words, Melissa Robinson sums up the past 26 months since her cousin was killed. In December 2022, the families of Morgan Harris and Mercedes Myron were told their loved ones were brutally murdered and their remains ended up in the Prairie Green Landfill. To add to their pain, the Winnipeg Police Service told them there would not be a search.
We were constantly told no because it couldn't be done, or, it was like looking for a needle in a haystack. But here we are, less than 3 months of the search commencing, and already, remains have been found.
A physical search of the landfill began on December 2nd, 2024, almost 2 years to the day the families heard the 2 women were victims of a self-confessed serial killer. This past August, Jeremy Skibitsky was sentenced to life in prison with no chance of parole for 25 years for killing 4 women. Rebecca Contois, Harris, Myron, and the yet-to-be-identified person given the name Buffalo Woman. The same summer, after fighting a year-long political fight with the city, its police, along with the former Manitoba government, and multiple feasible studies later, the families were told the feds and province would commit $20 million each to the search. A search that has close to 40 people doing shift work. Many of them are family members of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls in this province. Earlier this week, the Harris and Myron families were called to the search site with news of potential remains being found. Jordan Myron is Mercedes' sister.
We knew those women were in there, and this is the day that we've been waiting for. Although it's a good thing that we found the remains, it's also very, very hard.
Morgan's youngest daughter, Elle Harris, shares how she felt leaving the search site.
Yesterday, when I left the landfill, I felt like I was abandoning her again. I felt like I was leaving her.
This isn't the first time Winnipeg experienced a serial killer preying on Indigenous women. In 2012, Sean Lamb pleaded guilty to killing 2 women, and charges were stayed on a third, Tanya Nepanak, because her body was never recovered. At the time, her family was told that she was likely in the Brady landfill, a city-owned one on the south perimeter of Winnipeg. They were told she would not be searched for, something that's lingered in the air for over a decade and on the minds of the families today.
We need to go back to Brady, where we know Tanya Nepanak is at. Again, I don't know how anyone sleeps at nighttime knowing that she still lays there, and we know she's there. So why hasn't the work begun over there as well?
Kyra Wilson is the Grand Chief for the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs and was the Chief of Long Plain at the time the women were murdered. For her, if a search happened back then, there could have been prevention policies in place.
Right now is a prime example. If you listen to us, how many years ago, this could have been prevented.
She says with the alarming rates of violence on Indigenous women and girls, action needs to start now.
A major reason why we need to look at systemic change, and it needs to happen immediately. And we can't ignore this crisis anymore.
Meanwhile, the RCMP and the province's chief medical examiner are now investigating what was found this week. The province says the identification process could take up to 2 weeks. TR Wheatley, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
APTN News also spoke with Manitoba's Minister of Families and Gender Equity, Nahani Fontaine, who has worked alongside families of missing and murdered women and girls since the 2000s. Here's some of her reaction to this latest news.
What was told to be an impossibility or not feasible yesterday proved is feasible and is a possibility. And so everybody is gung-ho and motivated to keep going down this path and to ultimately honor the lives of Mercedes and Morgan and bring them home for their loved ones.
And if you are affected by these stories, supports are always available 24/7 through the MMIWG support line. That number is 1-844-413-6649. The Supreme Court of Canada has dismissed an appeal from the province of Saskatchewan regarding a lawsuit alleging Métis Nation Saskatchewan wasn't consulted with over a number of uranium exploration permits. In 2021, MNS filed a claim against Saskatchewan saying the MNS had Aboriginal title and rights to areas in northwestern Saskatchewan, including Patterson Lake, after Saskatchewan granted uranium permits for mineral exploration to NextGen Energy Limited, a company based in Vancouver. Saskatchewan argued the claims were an abuse of process as MNS had similar lawsuits against the province regarding the lack of consultation from the province. During that time, a Court of King's Bench judge sided with Saskatchewan, striking down portions of the MNS lawsuit. MNS then appealed and had its legal action reinstated. With this latest Supreme Court ruling, Métis Nation Saskatchewan can now proceed with its legal action to sue the province. The Supreme Court ruled it was not an abuse of process against Saskatchewan. Ontario Premier Doug Ford cruised to another majority win yesterday. His party won 80 seats out of the 124 seats up for grabs. The NDP got 27 seats and will again be the official opposition. Meanwhile, the Liberals nabbed 14 seats, although their leader, Bonnie Crombie, failed to win a seat. Saul Mamakwa was re-elected to a third term in his northwestern Ontario riding with 61% of the vote. Former Anishinaabe Nation Grand Council Chief Reg Niganobi was defeated as a Liberal candidate in Algoma, Manitoulin. Former Grassy Narrows Chief Rudy Turtle was also defeated as an NDP candidate in Kenora Rainy River. He lost to Indigenous Affairs Minister Greg Rickford, running for the Progressive Conservatives. The Nunavik Police Service has arrested and charged 36-year-old Nicholas Cyr, a gym teacher in northern Quebec, with sexually related offenses on January 21st. One of them is a sexual assault against a minor. 6 victims came forward, but the charges are based on one person who came forward. Cyr is currently out on bail. His next court date is March 4th. Cyr was a physical education teacher at the secondary school in Kuujjuaq, northern Quebec. The Nunavik Police Service say Cyr has lived in Kuujjuaq and worked at the secondary school for the last 14 years. The police is asking potential victims or witnesses to contact Sergeant Investigator Isabel Suave or the Nunavik Police Service's Integrated Investigative Unit at 819-964-2400. Information can be shared anonymously and confidentially. Michael McLeod, Member of Parliament for Northwest Territories, announced that over $1.9 million in federal funding will be going to the No One Left Alone project run by the Talicho Friendship Center, about 106 kilometers northwest of Yellowknife. The funding will help the center provide counseling, harm reduction, and culturally safe on-the-land programming to Indigenous substance users in Talicho area. The funding comes from Health Canada's Substance Use and Addictions Program. McLeod, on behalf of the federal government, reaffirmed their commitment to substance abuse programs in smaller communities.
The Government of Canada will continue to support community organizations that provide a full range of services to improve the health of these communities, reduce harms from substance use, and save lives.
After 32 years in politics, Chief Todd Pegan of the Pasqua First Nation near Regina, Saskatchewan, is calling it a career. First reported by the Regina Leader Post, Pegan was first elected Chief of Pasqua First Nation in 1993 at just 26 years old. He served as chief for one term and was councillor for 2 more terms before being elected chief again in 2011. He's now 59 and has decided to pass the torch on to the next leader. The Pasqua election is Monday. Chief Pegan says he is most proud of the Pasqua School, the Elders Lodge, and the $145 million land settlement in 2018 that has helped fund other projects in Pasqua. Chief Pegan now has plans to help First Nations develop their own child welfare departments. Indigenous authors and artists will have new publishing company on their side. That story when we come back in about 3 minutes. Welcome back. The Yukon's very own hockey sensation Gavin McKenna is slated to hit the ice in his home community of Whitehorse later this year. The 17-year-old Trondheim Gwich'in citizen plays for the Medicine Hat Tigers. Last year, he was selected to play for Team Canada at the World Juniors at age 16. He's one of the youngest players to ever be selected for the team. McKenna will play in 2 preseason games against the Kelowna Rockets in the Western Hockey League Yukon Showcase. The event will take place at the Takini Arena in Whitehorse in September. Scott Kent is the co-chair for the showcase.
I mean, Gavin's success as a, Yukon born and raised hockey player is well documented. I mean, we've all kind of watched him on the world, the World Junior and World Under 18 stage and how great he is. So, I mean, this really provided us with a great opportunity to have him come home and play some games here.
Cree author David A. Robertson is leading a new Indigenous-led publishing line of books through Penguin Random House Canada. It's called Swiftwater Books, and it will publish youth and children's books by Indigenous authors and artists. Reporter Sarah Bettens found out more in her interview with Robertson.
I was talking with my friend Cherie Demeline, who's also an Indigenous writer, and we were talking about all the writers who came before us who opened doors. So like the real icons, like Tom King or Richard Wagamese and Lee Maracle and Maria Campbell, and because Cherie and I were at the point then where we had a pretty good platform that was growing for ourselves, and we felt like it was something that we wanted to use to give back and to make sure we were opening doorways for new and emerging talent as well. So we came up with the idea of an imprint. There's very few requirements. The first thing is you have to be Indigenous. So, you have to in some way be able to articulate your ancestry. And so every author, every artist is going to be from the Indigenous community at large. The books themselves have to be educational. So they have to be something that can be used in the classroom or, in an educational setting that has something to offer. And of course, Indigenous storytelling always has incredible morals and teachings in them. So that's kind of like they kind of come with storytelling. So we're not too worried about that. And then we want all the books to be for youth, because I think youth are the greatest instruments of change in our society, especially when they're given knowledge. And I think books give that to them. So my dad's a big influence on my career. He's a big influence on my life, and a lot of teachings he gave me when I was younger and as an adult I've carried with me. My dad, he lived on the chap line when he was younger, and so he used to call the river that ran by where he lived as a kid, and he used to always call the river, the waterways, Swiftwater. And so I just love that name, and it reminds me a lot of my dad, and so it seemed like there's this fluidity in our storytelling too as Indigenous people, and so Swiftwater seemed like the perfect name for the imprint, and it also is a perfect way to honor my dad. What I want to do with the imprint is to break down a lot of those barriers. And so one thing that Swiftwater is going to do is we're going to, we don't require writers to be agented. We don't need you to send in a traditional query. You just have to send us an email. Just let us know what your project is about, what the story is, what you want to accomplish with it. Send us a sample of it, and just let us read through it. And if we like it, then we'll pursue it. And if we don't, I still want to give everyone feedback on what might not work and how they can improve, because I also want it to be an imprint that helps writers improve and to help them find pathways to publishing, even if it's not with us. We want to make sure that the publishing industry is more accessible to everybody, especially young Indigenous talent or emerging talent. People could send in submissions starting now. We've been actually taking submissions unsolicited and solicited for the last 2.5 years. We've been working on it for 2.5 years, getting it all ready. And now that it's out there in the world, people just need to go to our website, Swiftwater Books, and they can submit their work. With the Indigenous content that we're putting out, we really do think that we're going to make a difference in the long run.
We now want to recap this week's web poll questions. Over on our website, we asked, are you interested in learning the traditional language of your community? Your answers are yes, no, or I already know my traditional language. Our second question we asked, do you think the Prime Minister's handling of Jody Wilson-Raybould and his handling of the SNC Lavalin case has had an impact on Indigenous representation in federal politics? You can answer yes, no, or unsure. And our third question, do you think the federal government is doing enough to ensure food subsidies benefit Northern residents? Yes, no, or unsure. Head over to our website at www.aptnnews.ca to have your say. Award-winning actor and musician Gary Farmer is up next, along with another segment of Mother Tongue Teachings. Stay with us. Kicking off Friday's forecast, St. John 7, Charlottetown 4. Nain -22, Nuujjuaq -23. Saguenay -15, Quebec City -9. Peterborough sunny and -5, Ottawa -8. Wawa -11, Elliott Lake -13. Puckatawagan -21, Thompson -24. Dauphin -16, Barons River -19. North Battleford -2, Yorkton -15. -28 in Stony Rapids, Uranium City -19. Fort Chipewyan -10, partly cloudy, and Peace River at 2. Sun in Lethbridge at 15, Medicine Hat 11. Campbell River 10, Tofino 10. Fort Nelson 1, Dees Lake 3. Old Crow -20, Whitehorse 4. Fort Simpson -8, Wati -11. Tuktoyaktuk -21, Colville Lake -13. Baker Lake -23, Chesterfield -24. And Resolute -23, Arctic Bay same temperature -23. Every weekday this month, APTN has taken you to the roots of Indigenous languages for I Love to Read Month. Today, for Mother Tongue Teachings, Grandma Geraldine Chingus joins Tiara Wheatley to share one of her favorite Anishinaabemowin phrases.
Geraldine Shingu, Sadishnikovs. Wewe Ta Kwe, that's Northern Lights woman. Vijika Shkweyo is Sky woman. Makwa Nudam, I'm from the Bear Clan. Tutnawi Shibing, Treaty Reserve, Treaty 4 territory. I didn't know a word of English until like when we went into residential school. That's why I say people need to learn our language, like, you know, that roadway, Abadno Chimikana. You know, it took me many years to learn English. It only takes them a little while to learn those two words. Abadno Chimikana, Abadno Chimikana, Children's Way. And the reason why I picked that was because I want to acknowledge that it's significant. The name change happened here in Winnipeg from Bishop Grandin to Abadno Chimikana. We need to continue to have that dialogue, like, you know, sharing our experience and then also changing, like, you know, the system, trademarks, like names that committed genocide on our people. I learned from fluent speakers, Ojibwe, and they're teaching me. So yeah, so I'm still learning and I'm gonna get it. It's still there. It's in me. I know it's there. There's free online classes. Go to ceremony, like, you know, you'll learn the songs. The songs are sung in our language. The language has energy. Like, you know, it's like you, I could understand, like, you know, what they're saying, Ojibwe, and then also in Cree, because I lived up north. I know some of the words, the bad ones.
Chi Miigwech Gramashingus, that brings I Love to Read Month to a close. Thanks to everyone who contributed to mother tongue teachings, and thank you to TR Wheatley for putting those together. To see those videos, check out our website at aptnnews.ca/mother tongue teachings. Legendary actor and musician Gary Farmer, originally from the Mohawk community of Six Nations, is currently in Vancouver shooting a TV series, and our APTN's Tina House had a chance to catch up with him recently. Here's that interview.
Thank you. We are so excited to have Gary Farmer join us today. Gary Farmer, the legendary actor, musician. Really good to see you and welcome back to Vancouver.
Thanks so much, Tina. It's a pleasure to be here out at the beach. It's nice.
It is nice, Ambleside Beach. Gary, what brings you back to the city?
I've been working this show called Resident Alien for NBC Universal. This is our 4th season, and I play Dan 12 Trees. There's a Ute community within the show, and it's a resident alien. There's an alien comes to Earth, and he learns how to be human by watching Law and Order. It's a pretty funny show. It's got a great sense of humor.
That's amazing. Now, this weekend you have a very special showcase coming up. Can you tell me what's happening?
Well, you know, I ended up in my home community for 3 months, Six Nations, and you know, I've been really close to Derek. We've been partners on band stuff and touring, and we come down to we toured the States a lot, and then we toured Canada a couple of years ago. And we write music together, and he helps me produce albums for myself and stuff. So I purchased a car, actually, my newest car I've ever bought, back home on a res. Somebody wanted to scale up to a big truck, and I bought this car, and they're driving it out with Lacey Hill. And we decided they're going to do a little tour across the country. And I said, well, I'll try to work on something for Vancouver. And we ended up getting the Fire Hall complex, the Arts Complex, and we're really happy with that venue. And they're closing the show, you know, a women's view of Confederation. I forget, Women of the Fur Trade, which is a big hit show. And I was really impressed by the performance myself. And then I knew the artistic director because I worked a lot in Victoria Theatre too. And our manager for the Victoria Theatre is doing the lighting for this theatre company. So it was really just meant to happen, I guess. And so we're doing, and then Murray's joining us, of course, an old friend from our community, and then Pure Fay, who's also Tuscarora from the Carolinas, is also Six Nations, and she's joining us in the show too. So.
Wow, incredible. So Gary Farmer, Derek Miller, Lacey Hill, Marie Porter, and Pierre Fay. I mean, what a night. I mean, that's going to be incredible. Tell me a little bit about the timing and all that stuff. What time does the show kick off?
Yeah, it starts after they close the show. They do a matinee at 3 and they wrap, and they're going to strike the set, which isn't much of a set, and then we go on at 8. So we'll be for what, 2.5 hours, 3 hours probably. We're going to end up in a big jam. Shakti Hayes and Richard Brown on bass and drums are joining us too, some local celebrities themselves.
Wow, just a night of incredible rock and roll and some beautiful Indigenous talent getting together.
Yeah, it's
Amazing.
It's really special. It just worked out. It's nice when that happens. Yeah.
It's really awesome. Thank you so much. Nice to see you, Gary, and really good to see you back here in Vancouver.
Thank you.
Thank you. Back to you in studio.
Thank you, Tina and Gary. That's your Friday daytime cast for February 28th. Dennis Ward is back in a few hours with your evening newscast. Please join us then. From all of us at APTN National News, have a safe weekend with family, and the daytime show will see you same time, same place next Monday. Excellent.